What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. So I just want to say right out of the gate, if I sound nasally, my wife and I are both sick. But I was not going to leave you guys out there like that. My 18-month-old actually got baby pneumonia earlier this week, and we had to take him to the emergency room, which was hella frightening. Thank goodness he is fine. We actually had to stay there overnight with him. But unfortunately, my wife and I, being in close quarters with him, now we're sick. Yep, that's right. But I'm committed to my channel, committed to my viewership. So that deserves a subscribe. So that's a good segue to hit that subscribe button if you would. I am always taking an objective stance on here, and you will see that I do that in this video as well. I saw a headline today that says Nikita Hand, the woman who won the sexual assault battle against Conor McGregor, is reportedly in dire financial straits. The fallout from Conor McGregor's recent legal battle continues to ripple through the MMA world, leaving questions about the fighter's future, both inside and outside the octagon. Last week, a Dublin civil court jury found Conor McGregor guilty for assaulting Nikita Hand in 2018, awarding her $250,000 in damages. However, the complexities of the case and its consequences do not stop there. While Hand's win against McGregor ensures her legal costs will likely be covered, her simultaneous loss in a separate lawsuit against James Lawrence, a friend of McGregor, has created a precarious financial situation. Irish solicitor Terry Gorey recently broke down the implications of this mixed outcome, highlighting the unforgiving principle in civil litigation. Costs follow the event. This rule means the losing party often bears the legal fees of the winner. For Hand, her victory against McGregor entitles her to have her expenses reimbursed by the UFC star. However, her failure to secure a win against James Lawrence could result in her being liable for his legal costs unless the presiding judge exercises discretion and deviates from this norm in this situation. According to Gorey, Hand's legal team may argue that justice demands an exception to the rule in her case, especially given the intertwined nature of the lawsuits. However, there's no guarantee the court will agree, leaving Hand in a situation where her win against McGregor might come with an unexpected financial burden. For Conor McGregor, the ramifications of the civil trial extend beyond financial penalties. Brands like Proximo Spirits and IO Interactive have severed ties, while his public image faces a severe test. Former UFC double champion Daniel Cormier weighed in on the situation, emphasizing how damaging the verdict could be for McGregor's legacy. For a guy of that stature to come from our sport to be tied to something as bad as this, it really does suck, Cormier said. There are going to be some long-term effects from this. Cormier highlighted that McGregor's prominence as the face of MMA amplifies the fallout, making his legal battles a glaring blemish on his storied career. I have a lot to say about this, and it's interesting when you run a channel like this. It's unfortunate that people have to see your videos and hear your narrative one video at a time, and the reason I say that is because I'll have someone come on one of my videos, and I did a video recently about Conor and his family fleeing Ireland, and I had someone ask me, Mike Tyson just fought recently, yet you imply that McGregor's career is over. And then they said they love the channel, by the way. So I'm glad you found the channel, but I want to answer that. So um, I've never, if I did imply that, I certainly did not mean to imply that. See, here's the thing I want people to understand about my feelings about Conor. I've never been a hater. I've been watching the sport since 1993, for years and years and years and years. Before Conor came on the scene, I was a fan of this sport. And when Conor came on the scene and MMA had its first super mega superstar, I was hype. I was pumped. I've always loved Conor. I've always pulled for Conor. And in this situation, I pull for him also. I think that he's fighting some demons that a lot of people are not giving him credit for fighting. And this is something that I know something about, and that is drug addiction. I believe that Conor is a drug addict, and I think he's one of the worst kind. He's a very rich, wealthy, famous, well known drug addict, meaning he can get as much as he wants whenever he wants it. There is no shortage of drug dealers, probably doctor pushing prescription drug dealers. I mean, what he wants, he gets. Why? Because he's Conor McGregor and he has that kind of influence, right? So he has people, drug dealers probably hitting him up on a regular basis to make sure that he's good so that they can continue to get paid, right? Surrounded by a bunch of yes men. I've struggled with drug addiction, but I would not pretend to know how difficult it would be to struggle with drug addiction being a mega superstar like Conor McGregor. It would have to make it infinitely harder, and infinitely more difficult to get a hold of that aspect of your life. And people who have never suffered with a drug addiction won't understand this, but the best way to explain it is when you're a drug addict, you don't control those substances. Those substances begin to control you. Okay? And I think that that's what we're seeing here with Conor McGregor and the erratic behavior that we're seeing in his life, in his career, that sort of thing. Now, back to the article here. So, I think that there is a lesson to be learned for all parties involved here. Okay? Now, I've been very objective on this channel. I've said numerous times that I feel like this young lady could be lying. Um, well, I mean, we know for a fact that she lied. There's no I feel she could be lying. She did lie. She lied. I mean, we know that. Not only to her family, but to friends. She lied to the authorities at first, claiming that it was only Conor, right? And it wasn't until she went back to file this civil case that the authorities, who had already checked into everything and looked at CCTV footage and talked with James Lawrence and talked with Conor, that they were like, well, what about this? What about this video of you here in the taxi? What about this video of you here, in the elevator, making out with these guys, obviously in an amicable, having fun, flirty situation here? Are you telling us that this supposedly took place 2 hours after you were brutally sexually assaulted, right? And then she didn't know how to respond to that. So her only rebuttal to that, her only response could be, okay, well, I don't remember all that. I must have just been really messed up. He must have raped me too. Talking, he being James Lawrence, right? Well, James Lawrence wasn't found liable. Okay. So now we have an issue. We already know that Conor is being required to pay for Nikita Hand's legal fees, right? You know, Conor's an extremely wealthy individual. He can bear this burden, I'm sure. But as far as for her having to possibly foot the bill for James Lawrence defense, because James Lawrence had to have an attorney as well. You know, I mean, he was being charged with the same thing that McGregor was, this sexual assault, right? Well, she didn't win against him. The jury found that he did not sexually assault her, right? Which again, I do think that there's a lesson to be learned for her in this as well, because we know that she supposedly lost her home. She supposedly stopped working after this due to PTSD of, trying to bounce back from the experience that she supposedly had of being violently assaulted by Conor. Which, listen, I've always argued that, let me be careful how I tread here. I've always argued that this chick had some problems before Conor ever was in the picture. Okay? We have to remember that that night she was at a Christmas party, drinking, living it up, having a good time prior to ever reaching out to and messaging Conor. To which after that, she messaged him. She made the initial point of contact, began sending him pictures, whatever. I'm not saying he didn't ask for them. He probably did. Either way, point I'm making here is she went out with Conor and James Lawrence on this 3-day bender and was gone for several days, all the while sitting and texting her, man back at home. Oh no, everything's good. I'm having a great time, honey. Don't worry about it. We're doing this, we're doing that, and we'll be, lied to her child about where she was, obviously lied to everyone about what she was doing. Now, listen, Conor was doing the same thing. Obviously, D. Devlin didn't know that Conor was out with some chick drinking, snorting cocaine, renting a penthouse to possibly have sex with her later. Obviously, she didn't know that. Okay, so they're both in the wrong here. So Conor, there's obviously some fallout associated with this that is a huge lesson for him, whether he sexually assaulted her or not. And I said this in the last video. I think that there's a thing called karma. You put certain things out into life, you get the equivalent of that back. Okay, and when you're a highfalutin, womanizing, drug using, egotistical maniac, you tend to get some of that negativity back based on how you're out there living your life. Okay. You run out on your family, you're unfaithful to your woman, you go out there snorting cocaine, having drunk sex, whether it's consensual or otherwise, with another person who is not the mother of your children, you are going to get some negative aspects of that back in your life. I do believe that in this life you reap what you sow. Conor is absolutely learning that. His sponsors are dropping him. People are removing his image from gyms over in Ireland. Okay. Now, let me be clear. Absolutely, Conor can bounce back from this. And it's interesting that that comment that I referenced a few minutes ago that one of my listeners made, they mentioned Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson just fought recently. Why would you think that Conor's career is over? And that's why I say I wish someone could come on and hear all of my stuff at the same time, because I've said that exact thing. I've said before on here that we got to remember something. Mike Tyson was not only accused of, but convicted of rape. And this wasn't a civil charge. This was a criminal charge that he was convicted of. And he served almost 2 years in federal prison. Probably 25 years ago, maybe 30 years ago. It's been a long time now. But, do you think people were giving a shit about that when he was supposed to face Jake Paul? No. He's one of the most beloved athletes ever. And if there's anybody that has ever lived a horrible assault down like that, Mike Tyson is a perfect example of that. He's never been convicted of anything like that since. He's a married man. He loves his family, this and that and the third. So it shows that people can absolutely come back from this. And I just want to say this. Whether you like Conor or not, one thing is a fact. Conor is a living legend. Okay? And there's a lot of Conor haters out there. And I won't be shocked at all if people go, no legend would sexually assault. No legend would. Shut your dirty mouth. He is absolutely a living legend. And 30 years from now, your kids, and then 50, 60 years from now, your grandkids will know the name Conor McGregor. He will be right up there with Muhammad Ali. He will be talked about like some of these great musicians, Michael Jackson, Ray Charles, and you hear about stuff like this, and Conor McGregor, they will make movies about Conor. Okay? Absolutely. Within the next 10 to 15 years, I anticipate a movie on this man's life. Okay? And when you're making movies about people, that person is a legend. Okay? Only legends get movies made about them. All right? So you're talking about a guy that achieved something in a way that is one of a kind. Is an anomaly. Like no one, it was a phenomenon. Like no one had ever come into the sport of MMA and did what Conor did. So this is something that we'll make movies about this guy. And I want to be clear about something. When I sit and watch that movie about Conor McGregor's life, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, whenever it is, whenever it happens, whenever it's made, whenever it comes out, and I will watch it. I want that movie to show a man who went through the shit and went like this and crashed and burned to the point where he is now, right? And the movie will show how he went through this court case and this woman that accused him of this and accused him of that, and then it'll have somebody play him and D. Devlin in the background, and it'll show, you know, their perceived conversations about this and how it tormented them. It'll show his highlight to becoming UFC double champ, and then you'll see this roller coaster, and then all of a sudden this crash in the movie, and then the rock bottom that maybe he's living right now. This may be it. This may be that part in that movie where he hits rock bottom. Okay? But I want that movie to reflect a guy who hits rock bottom. That championship mindset causes him to turn shit around in his life. And I want that movie to end like the Ray Charles movie. Got the roller coaster and then the rise to the top, right? And then once you get up there, you've got this and then the crash at the bottom, which may be now. Where does he go from here? Is this his rock bottom? Is this Conor's rock bottom? We don't know. He may not even know. But this could be that part in that movie that becomes a turning point for Conor McGregor. And this could be that part where the orchestra starts to swell, and it shows the person playing Conor, having a moment with themselves where I have to turn this shit around. I was once the great Conor McGregor, revered all across the world. Now look at me. And they say when you hit rock bottom, there's nowhere to go but where? Nowhere to go but up. And to circle back to Mike Tyson, he's proven that Conor will always be a legend, okay? Of MMA, will always be one of the most beloved athletes, right? But how this story ends, how this movie ends, is up to Conor now. People want to forgive. People want to forget. People want that movie to end like a Rocky movie, with a highlight, with him winning. We want that movie to end with him winning, by God. We don't want the movie to end with him crawling in a hole somewhere and then, just fading off into obscurity. We don't want it to end that way. And if anything, Conor McGregor's life has been fraught with ups and downs, but he's reached the peaks. only such a tiny percent of the population will ever reach in their life. He has reached those peaks, you know. Now he's in one of the valleys. How's it going to end? How's it going to end for Conor? You know, I mean, I vote that he turns his shit around. I vote that he gets his shit together so that that movie that gets made reflects the heart of a champion, the spirit of a champion that you know Conor McGregor has down in here. You know, he's a fighter. He's going to have to fight back from this. You know, I believe he'll do it. I believe he will do it. I think that same championship spirit and that same vigor that took him all the way to the top of his game is going to pluck him out from the bottom. I believe it. The question is, does he believe it? Does he want it? Is he at that rock bottom point in the movie that is the life of Conor McGregor? Is he there? We'll find out. As far as Nikita Hand, you know, let this be a lesson to her too. And I'll just end with this. She obviously made a lot of mistakes this night as well, just like Conor did. She ran out on her family. She told lies. You know, it's very telling the fact that they did not find James Lawrence guilty, but that they found Conor liable. Okay? And maybe that's a lesson for her. Maybe she has to turn around and pay for James Lawrence's legal fees. Maybe she has to do that. Maybe she goes completely broke because of this. Maybe that could be a bit of karma, insinuating that maybe she was complicit in all this and maybe it was consensual sex. And this is karma's way of teaching her a lesson that you don't go lying on people just to get some of this. Could be. Not saying it's the case. Not saying it's the case. Don't jump in my comments hating on me. I'm being objective. I'm being practical. That's what I do. Maybe it's a lesson for her. All right, guys, I've been talking about this long enough. Love you guys very much. Subscribe to the channel if you would. Like the video and comment down below. I will see you on the next one. All right, guys.